So for CBA 3, our book report or book lesson assignment, I decided to read If You Give a Mouse a Cookie by Laura Numeroff. I chose this book mainly because I worked with kindergarten in aftercare last year, and at the end of the day, before we packed up to move them to a different group, I would read them a book, and this is one of the ones that they always seemed to give me. And it was, whether it was this one or a different variation, If You Give a mouse a cookie, they just absolutely loved it. So I thought that with knowing that and knowing how those students responded last year, I figured that I would try and see how it would go with this student. And she absolutely loved this book. When I told her what we were doing, she was very excited. I also chose this because the kindergarten teacher was currently teaching sequencing at the time, and I really wanted to make sure that I stayed within the alignment of what she had going on in class, so that I didn't introduce something new that she hadn't taught yet or that the student hadn't been exposed to, so that she wasn't confused going back to class. So I really just wanted to make sure that I was at the same area pretty much that her teacher was. For the activities, I had the student work through vocab cards with me. I would say the word, I would have her repeat the word, then I would write the word on an index card, and so she could see visually how it was written out. I also had vocab cards with pictures on it, so she had a visual of what the item or object was as well, or the motion. And then I started to break it down by sounds, letter sounds, so to help her pronounce it. And that's really where I started to see her struggle a little bit. She did great repeating after me with the full word. She could read the full word, but then asking her to sound it out or break it down is where she started to struggle. And then those letter sounds were blending together incorrectly, or she was just skipping over trying to sound out the word and just repeating the word over and over. So that was probably, out of the whole lesson, the only point where I really saw her seem to have struggled just a little bit. Other than that, she did really great. We also did a sequencing activity, which I sort of did in two parts. The first part was more of a memory piece for what the mouse was asking for, because it was just kind of reviewing that vocab, and she would point to the like cards that she had in front of her to state like what the mouse had asked for. And she did this really well. Before I even asked her at some points, what did the mouse just ask for? Can you point to what he asked for? She was already showing me the card. So then the second part that really went with this was the actual sequencing activity that we did. And it asked you to place the cards in the order in which the mouse asked for things. And so she had to cut and glue her cards out. So she had a set of just vocab cards that were in front of her, which were these, because these were the 7 vocab words that I chose for her. And then she had all 12 of the cards for what the mouse asked for. And she had to place them in the correct order in which she asked for things. And she did exceptionally well. She only had one little hiccup where she flipped 2 of the things. They were on the same page, and she just reversed the order in which she asked for wanting to like take a nap in a bed versus like reading a book. And it was, I think she put the book before the bed instead of the bed before the book. But other than that, she did really well. And I didn't really have to even like guide her too much on how to fix it. So she did really well. So the skills I addressed in this were mainly the vocabulary. I did a little bit of phonics with that, sounding out the letter sounds, and then sequencing and comprehension of understanding what the mouse asked for and when he asked for it. I did the vocabulary overview. Some words like scissors, she kind of did a little bit of a TPR. She was able to show me like what you do with scissors, like the motion with her fingers. And then I used visual support, so the vocab cards she had on the board as like a little word wall, as well as cards on the table in front of her that had the picture and the written word out in English. And then we did some sequencing cards. The only prop that she really had was scissors, but that was because she was using scissors to cut her assignment. I kept it a quiet learning environment. It was just her and I in the classroom. So with that being said, I tried to make sure that I gave her encouragement, and I tried to make some meaningful small talk with her just to make sure that she was comfortable with the setting, just because her and I hadn't worked alone. We had worked together in a whole group or a small group, but it wasn't just her and I before. So I wanted to make sure that she was comfortable and confident and was ready to go. I tried to make sure that I gave full explanations as simply as I could, but to the best of my ability, to make sure that she understood what was expected and what she was going to do. And then she did really well, I think mainly because it was a very hands-on activity, and then she liked it as well. So she was able to color it at the end when she was done, and so she did really well. She was able to work at her own pace, and I worked with her on everything. So if she needed help with a little bit of pronunciation, we worked through that a little bit till she got it. But then as she made like little small mistakes, I tried not to correct her too much so that she didn't get like overwhelmed. So overall, I think that she did extremely well, and I think the lesson went well, and yeah.